sport here on your Super Hits Radio 99.7 JoyFM.
Il essaye de faire le ménage. Et le deuxième but, la mauvaise transmission de balle.
Kumasi Asante Kotoko get the first goal. It's really on for the Porcupine Warriors. Lovely touch by Maxwell Barker with the ball. Oh, it's a good looking ball. Dazzling shot. Great vision. 2-0.
We are having a kind of advantage than the other teams as at now, but we cannot say we have to relax or maybe take things easy. Head to head now we've overcome in Ghana. Now Al Hilal is coming here. They beat us 1-0, which means we have to score more than one.
Laid it up to the left hand side. Now down the touchline. Ball back into the penalty box. Headed very well by Wahid. Walid Hamid got the goal for Al Hilal. And the lead Kumasi Asante got a goal by 1-0. It's a bit of regime change so far as we're concerned in this competition.
Emmanuel Gentry with a shot. Goal!
Sonny Yakuba gets in the goal there for Kumasi Asante got the goal. It's the redeeming goal. 1-0 here at the Baba Sports Stadium. And Sonny Yakuba, the unlikely hero.
Of course, we always have that mindset of going into a game to win. We don't just go there to just for playing sake. No, we go to give all out, and sometimes it doesn't go the way we want it. But we just have to put those things behind us and focus on things in front of us.
And so the journey of CAF Confederations Cup glory started and continued yesterday in Zambia. We brought you live commentary of Zesco United versus Asante Kotoko here on 99.7 JoyFM. And today, I'm Gary L. Smith. We'll be going through what was a very sad exit for the side. After 90 minutes, they couldn't make it.
Is running onto the ball to the party box, lays across everybody. Wonderful touch. It's the ball into it, and the goal has finally come. Kumasi Asante Kotoko lead by 1-0. Came onto the pitch straight, scored the goal. And Kumasi Asante Kotoko may just be on their way. The Steven Nyaku scoring. Chikundo with the ball now into penalty box. Turns around, touches the ball, and they've got the equalizer here. Jackson, wow, it's 1-0. And all of a sudden, problems again for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Jackson worried, but ball comes in, and goalkeeper Felix Adams saved, but the ball comes back into it, and Zesco United have a second goal. The big man loves the big moments, piercing the hearts of Kumasi Asante Kotoko supporters. In Tonga, smashing the ball into the net, and Zesco United lead by 2-1.
And that's how it finished. Very, very difficult for Kotoko fans. However, there may be a silver lining. The silver lining is that they got Ghana 1 point in the CAF coefficient ranking table. We will explain that here on the Joy Sports Track from now till the top of the hour. We'll do a bit of Black Stars issues as well, because as you know, this weekend the senior national team will start what essentially is their preparation for the African Cup of Nations in 2019. We've seen the Black Stars management committee formed. We'll try and debate the merit and demerits of that committee pretty shortly. But first of all, we do have our regular pundits with us. Jay Sapon spoke to Benedict Osudankwa about Kotoko's CAF Confederations Cup campaign.
Although they are out of the competition, I think we'll have to praise them for where they have reached. Remember, their mandate was to get to the group stage, and I think they have achieved what they want to do. But to go further was just like a plus. But for me, up at this stage, they have to be united now and then see the way forward for Kotoko.
But coach, you don't think after watching in Ghana and Zesco United, the performance Kumasi Asante Kotoko put up, they should have at least made the next stage of the competition?
Well, they were, Ghana and others are also good teams, and Kotoko played against good teams. But if you look at the preparation of the three, Kotoko was short of enough preparation. Don't forget that Zesco, Nkana, and others came from the Champions League down to the Confederation Cup. So that's why I'm saying that Kotoko did well. And then coming from the fact that we don't have even a serious league being played in this country. So that's the best they could have done.
Siki Akono, what do you say about him?
Yeah, he should be kept to rebuild Kotoko. You know, in fact, the entire setup should be kept together. And then perhaps the players should be kept together, paid well, so I do not have that aim of getting out of the team to seek for greener pastures. Because if you keep them together, they will achieve what they want to achieve for Kotoko.
What did you find wrong with Asante Kotoko's campaign?
Well, I think from the onset, we started talking about the whole team setup, that they should beef up the team. They beefed up the team. First, they were not scoring. They started scoring. Midfield was not gelling. They started playing well. And then it went down to the defense. Until date, the defense has caused the exit. But for me, I don't blame them because of lack of perhaps competition in our country.
If they have to look at the defense, then obviously what it means is that they must look elsewhere.
Oh yeah, they should augment the defensive setup, and I think they are going to do that.
And as an experienced coach, as a veteran coach, where does this put Siki Akono, one of your own? Well,
he's done well till now. I think an up-and-coming coach, ambitious coach, who has gone to one of the glorious teams, financially good teams, and coming up to this level, he deserves praise.
Joy 99.7.
Siki Akono speaking there here on the Joy Sports Track on 99.7 Joy FM. 19 minutes gone after the hour, and Benedito Sudankwa joins in studio after speaking to Jay Sapong. I mean, what have you monitored in terms of the comments on radio, television, social media? What is the general impression of this Kotoko team?
Well, it's been one of people lauding Kotoko for their performance, despite failing to make the next stage of the competition. I mean, looking at the current circumstances and everything that's going on here in the country, and for them to have made it up to this stage of the competition, people on social media, on radio, on TV, have been lauding the club, especially Siki Akono and some of the players, for the decision they took to participate in Africa. We were all very skeptical about it when Asante Kotoko decided to participate, because at a certain point we thought that there was no football in the country. At that point they didn't have the quality to participate in this competition, and they've gone there even at the point where we were playing active football in this country. Things didn't go well. They lost to very low rated, yes, I have to put it that way, very low rated, because the pedigree of Asante Kotoko when it comes to African competition, and to have lost to the likes of BYC and all the teams that they lost to previously. Omar, even when we were playing active football in the country, people were very skeptical about that decision for Asante Kotoko to go and play in this competition. But they defied the odds, did some recruitment, and their performance was massive. At least they brought football back into the country at a point where we didn't have local football. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, week in, week out, were giving us something to talk about, something for the fans to laugh about. So the impression or the talk has been one of people lauding the club. I
mean, and we released some infographics of our own where we enumerated some of the good and then the not so good things that we thought Kotoko brought as a result of the CAF Confederations Cup campaign. One of the things we said was that they brought fabulous entertainment. And like you said, exactly. I mean, in Kumasi was massive, and it wasn't just in Kumasi, in Accra and everywhere. People were talking about Asante Kotoko, and to the extent that they had buses bringing people outside Kumasi from outside Kumasi to see their games, and the entertainment in Kumasi was massive. So we've spoken about the entertainment. Now the local economy received a boost, didn't it? Of course. You were in Kumasi for at least two. I watched 3 of their games. It was massive.
I mean, hotels were booked. I remember one hotel that I went to, I was told there were no rooms. Yeah, so we had to actually look for a different place. And I asked why. He said, "Oh, don't you know Kotoko are playing?" So in terms of business, it was good for people, those around the stadium. Yusuf Chipsa was able to sell the replica jerseys. Other paraphernalia of Asante Kotoko were purchased. So it was very good. Business was good.
Third thing we were talking about was the fact that they earned their respect again, on the continent after the examples you mentioned, having been defeated by certain teams that are not of the pedigree of this club. Considering that they've gone out to this kind of opposition, Al Hilal, big teams, Zesco, we know what they've done in the last 7 years in Africa, as well. And
even in Ghana.
Yes, in Ghana as well, who have gone to the next stage of the competition. They've earned their respect again.
Yeah, they have. I mean, it's one of Kumasi Asante Kotoko doing what they had to do. And what they had to do was getting us to the level where we are used to Asante Kotoko. Because, I mean, a decade ago, when we were talking about Asante Kotoko, it was always about the CAF Champions League. It was a CAF Confederation Cup. And then the last time they participated at this level was in 2008. And since then, it was very difficult even to make it, because teams were like Indiana Stars, become Chelsea, were winning our leagues, and we're always, getting on top of Asante Kotoko in terms of the domestic competition, which serves as a qualification for this very competition. So for a very long time, they were not at this level. And then they got the opportunity to come there, and were losing to low-rated teams. And now they come back. They beat Karobangi Sharks. They go to Cameroon, beat Cotton Sports, get a good result here, and then make the money zone for the first time since 2018. Of course, they've gained our respect and everything.
In terms of these intangibles, the tangible thing, I'm sure some of our listeners will say, "Oh yeah, but what else?" Is that the CAF coefficient rankings, which are really important for Ghana as a whole. For me, that is the biggest vindication for them.
Yeah,
Kotoko gained 1 point by placing third. Now, the CAF Confederations Cup rankings, the coefficient rankings, are done every 5 years, where your country's teams, club teams, will be assessed. Yes, will be assessed based on where they reach in African club competitions, and then they will look at whether to increase or decrease the number of slots you have. So each country can have one for CAF Champions League, one for CAF Confederations Cup, or two as well.
That's based on the performance in the previous year.
Yes.
So just probably to refresh listeners, if you remember, some time back we had the likes of Asante Kotoko, Accra Heartffolk, where Asante Kotoko win the Premier League. Heartffolk will place second. Both teams will participate in the CAF Champions League, and then Accra Great Olympics, Liberty Professionals will play in the Confederation Cup because of their performance year in, year out in the CAF club competition. But when it got to a time where these teams were not doing very well, and that they go and they just get out of the preliminary stages, that was when we lost the two slots. Yeah, so if Asante Kotoko, now they've gone in there, they've built a point for us. If, let's say, God willing, next year we get another team, if it's Kotoko, if it's Heartffolk, if it's Become Chelsea, if Tema Youth, Dreams FC, or whichever team, go there, and then they also do very well. It builds our points up, and who knows, probably maybe we'll get our 4 slots back.
Right, so what is happening is that Kotoko's gaining of 1 point means Ghana now has 9 points on. It's like I said, it's reviewed every 5 years, but as it stands, if it's reviewed again, Ghana will still have the 1 slot because we have not done enough. To be able to get 2 slots, you need 30 points or more, which means that we need about 21 more points.
And if they had qualified to the next stage, that's the quarterfinals, the points would have been more than,
So they use a weighted average system where it's known if they have gotten to the quarterfinal, they would have gotten a certain number of points and so on and so forth. So based on where you place, generally, if you finish in the group stages of the CAF Champions League, you get more points than when you finish in the CAF Confederations Cup, and so on and so forth. It was revised a couple of years ago to include the global competitions, that is to say the FIFA Club World Cup. If you go to the semi-final of the FIFA Club World Cup or more, you are given points as well, and so on and so forth. So Kotoko has gained Ghana 1 additional coefficient point, and for me that is the biggest thing they have done with their campaign. Otherwise, if they are sat home and we had, like in the beginning I said that it wasn't necessary for them to go. If they had done that, we also
said that it wasn't necessary, because I mean at that point there was nothing happening in the country. I mean, you looked at the Asante Kotoko team, And as I mentioned,
they were playing this friendly.
Even times that we were playing active football in the country, what was the performance? How much when we're not doing anything in the country and they were going for the competition? So, I mean, we all didn't, agree, if I can put it that way. We all were not in agreement with that decision. But eventually they went, and we've all seen.
But now that we have had a taste and we understand what it means for us to go, I mean, the local economy, the excitement it brings, even content for media and all that. What is the next step going forward this year? What is the guarantee that we are even going to have a representative in Africa? Because we have not played a league yet.
Yeah, we haven't. But I'm reliably informed that probably maybe in a week or two, the normalization special competition will be played. And if it starts, which hopefully they have to end before June, which I don't think is feasible. But based on that, we'll get a representative for the CAF Interclub competitions, and next year, be it the Confederation Cup and the CAF Champions League. So I just hope and pray that will happen. If not, then I don't know if still probably maybe we'll have to revise the statutes. We have to go back and check if Asante Kotoko will still be eligible to play in the competition.
The statutes will be pretty different. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we'll have to go back and check, because I mean it was just the same basis that Asante Kotoko managed to pull through and got this opportunity to play in the competition. Media Mercy also qualified. They qualified to play, but eventually they came out and said that they were not going to participate in the competition. So we would have to check that. But now it is obvious, and we've all seen Asante Kotoko's performance. One thing that is clear is that if you prepare well, if you get a right team, if the support is there, you definitely will do well. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, they had the support from the patron of the club, Otunfo. You also look at the executive chairman, that's Dr. Kwame Che. His support for the team, CK Akono came through, George Amwako, and all the guys worked very, very hard. They got in some players at the point where they realized that they needed to beef the squad. Even during the competition, they brought in Habib Mohammed from Ashanti Gold, Zabo Tegai from Ivory Coast, and then other players were there as well. The things that they had to do, they did everything for the team to do well. So if the other clubs will look at the Kumasi Asante Kotoko and hopefully in the near future also get the opportunity to participate in this competition, and the support is there from everywhere, the media, the public, the government. I think that we'll go back to the days where we saw Accra Heartful Asante Kotoko make the CAF Confederation Cup final, where we all enjoyed in Ghana.
So we'll touch on this man right after we hear him.
Yes, there's nothing going on, but hopefully there will be something soon. But I don't think that is the cause. We didn't just do well. In the last games we played, Al Hilal, we didn't perform too well. And today, Zesco were a bit more aggressive, especially in the second half. When I thought after getting a goal, you'll be encouraged to play very well. And I think a little bit of intelligence killed us. But if we have to talk of, because there's no confederation and championship going in our country, that wouldn't be the good excuse.
Siki Akono speaking there, responding to a question about whether the team didn't perform yesterday or were not able to get out of the group because of a lack of competitive football. He said simply that the defense was suspect.
I think CK is spot on with that answer. I really liked how
there's
he
been a
answered
lot of talk today. We understand monitoring radio in some of the other regions that he didn't do well, should be sacked.
I don't know where that is coming from, but I get it when people say that no football activity in the country, and probably that could be one of the reasons why Kumasi Asante Kotoko didn't do well, or that could be the main reason. Well, I tend to disagree, because Libya for
dogs, yes.
For a very long time they were not playing football, but their class were doing very well in the CAF Interclub competitions. All you have to do is in Ghana playing week in, week out. But what happened? Zesco playing week in, week out, and even when the draw was made, we were all talking about Zesco getting out of this group. We were not even mentioning Al Hilal, although we knew that they are very good when it comes to the CAF Interclub competitions. They were playing week in, week out, but Kumasi Asante Kotoko went to Karubangi Sharks in Kenya, where they were playing football. Cameroon, had similar issues as that of ours, so you say that the Cotton Sports were similar as that of Asante Kotoko, but the other teams were playing, and Kotoko didn't play. They were playing friendly matches, but still Gary, it's not just about you not playing. It's about what you put out there when you get into the competition. We've seen countries where they were not playing football, but their clubs were doing very well in the competition.
So basically, yesterday,
so it had nothing to do. And CK mentioned that the problem was with the defense. Yes, and he acknowledged and he admitted that in their last game, in their last 2 games, they had problems with their defense, and it wasn't even their last 2 games. I think I have to add the game they played away to Nkana as well.
Yeah,
those games, and there's one thing we also have to watch. I say that yes, I will admit that Asante Kotoko have done very well, but I feel that they could have done better.
Sure.
Because watching Nkana and Zesco, there's no way Kumasi Asante Kotoko couldn't have beaten these teams home and away.
Yeah.
Because the game we played away to Nkana was a must-win for Kotoko, and looking at how well they played in that game, if not for the howlers they committed at the back, Asante Kotoko should have won that game. In Kumasi, they did very well to win 3-0. The only match they kept a clean sheet. Also beat Zesco United 2-1. Away yesterday to Zesco was a game for Asante Kotoko to kill. You understand? So I don't get it when people say the main reason for Kotoko not making the next stage of the competition was because of the inactivity.
That's out of the way. And then
I like what Sikiakono said.
Yeah, categorically. I mean, I think that it's utter drivel. You know, if you say sack Sikiakono because of this, I mean.
And well, Gary,
it doesn't make any. It doesn't.
To talk about Siki Akono, I think that he's done so well.
Yeah,
I mean, Siki Akono came in 2 months to this tournament. You know, this competition was Pakwisi Fabian who was in charge, and miraculously he just told the club that he wasn't going to continue because he had his eyes somewhere else. And Siki Akono came in. Yes, Akono at Dreams FC, at Ashanti Gold. When he came, Ashanti Gold were really struggling, and at the second part of the season, Siki Akono 10 things wrong for Ashanti Gold. So when he got the job, I was very, very excited for him. And then he went to Kumasi Asante Kotoko, got the backing of the board as well as the management. They gave him some players. He requested for certain players, Martin Intri and the likes, and all these players came in. And Siki Akono was able to blend these boys. Played very well. The pressure, of course, it's Kumasi Asante Kotoko. You know how the fans are. The pressure will definitely will come. And at the point, and I think that he's a very listening coach. At the point where we're all talking about some of the players not pulling their weights, not doing very well, he made some changes, and it worked for him in that game he played. I think it was against Nkana, which he won by 3 goals to 0. I think that he's had a fantastic competition. All they have to do, it shouldn't just be a year or 2. I think Asante Kotoko should allow Siki Akono to stay on if he wants to stay on for a very long time, build his capacity, get the right players for him. If they do, next year Kumasi Asante Kotoko can go to Africa and surprise all of us, and we'll do massive things.
We'll see how it goes. Now let's wrap it all up with a couple of statistical information. So as you know, Kotoko finished 3rd in their group with 7 points. In terms of the top scorers, they had 2. Abdul Fatau had 3 goals, same as Emmanuel Jamefi as well. Maxwell Bakun had 2. Amos Frimpong had 2 as well. Now, very interestingly,
from the spot. From the spot.
Yeah.
No, you have to. Amos Frimpong was from the spot.
Yeah, he got 2 goals.
Yeah, he got. No, I'm not disputing. I'm just saying he didn't get 2 goals. But
so they scored 15 goals. They conceded 12. Now, the interesting thing is, and again, which statistically proves that fatigue was an issue. They scored most of their goals within the first 30 minutes of games. They scored 9 goals in total within the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
And yes,
there's one trend that I realized about the Asante Kotoko team. They always struggled in the second half.
Yeah, sure.
Their first half performances in all games they played were all better than the second half. Second half were always difficult for Kotoko, and it showed in their last game, the game they played yesterday.
They scored only 4 goals in the second halves. In the first halves, they scored 11 goals. Scored 4 in the second half. Now, if you break the first half goals, the first 30 minutes, they scored 6 goals.
Yeah.
You know, which is what Al Hilal, we are told later on, that Al Hilal worked on that because, I mean, they had all
they really studied the Kotoko team before the game.
And so they stifled them in the first 30 minutes, after which, you know, they also brought in some of their first choice players to give them problems. Their biggest win in this campaign was 3-0 against Nkana, and then their biggest loss was 3-1 against the same Nkana.
Yeah.
away. For the most assists, Sonny Yakuba had 5 assists, Emmanuel Jemfi had 2, Abdul Fattah also had 1. In terms of goal contributions, Sonny Yakuba contributed the most by scoring twice, and he had 5 assists, so 7 contributions in all. Emmanuel Jemfi had 5 contributions, 3 goals, 2 assists. Abdul Fattah had 4 contributions, 3 goals, and 1 assist as well. In terms of the home goals, yes, we've spoken about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Player ratings.
Player ratings. That's I was waiting for that.
Player ratings. Let's do
if
that.
you saw any infographic with player ratings out there, officially we are recusing ourselves. Those player ratings were done on behalf of the team by Benedict. So Benedict.
Well, yeah.
He gave Felix Annan.
Yeah, Felix Annan 8.5. 8.5. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
Felix Annan played all the games and excelled. Did very well.
Some people feel a couple of comments I can read. I can't do that now, but people say that they don't agree because he conceded too many goals.
Well, it's not about conceding too many goals, but one thing you should also know is they had a problem with the defense.
With the defense, yes.
Yeah, they had a problem with the defense. So just imagine if they had a very good, formidable, solid defense. Probably maybe Felix wouldn't have conceded the number of goals he did. For me, Felix, the number 1 player for Kumasi Asante Kotoko in this campaign, played very, very well. He was a leader at the back, organized the defenders. But of course, if you have defenders who will not listen and all boils down to the goalkeeper, he made some crucial saves in all the games that I watched on TV. I had the opportunity to see their game against almost all their games.
Sure.
The ones that I wasn't at the stadium, I watched on TV, and Felix made some crucial saves. So Felix, number 1 for me, and then Kwame Bonsu. Kwame Bonsu, my second top player for Asante Kotoko in this competition. It doesn't come as a surprise to me that he received the call up to the Black Stars. He played some great football for the side. He was a field marshal. In midfield, Kwame Bonsu was the man. If he turns up, the whole team will gel and play very well. If Kwame Bonsu is off, you see Asante Kotoko is off. That was great from Kwame Bonsu. So Kwame Bonsu, my second best player, and then Sonny Yakuba. You know, initially the fans talked about the pressure was coming. Yeah. He's not scoring. He's a striker. He's not scoring. But one thing that many people forgot was
even at the time he was assisting a lot.
That's one thing that people are not looking at. Of course, I mean, yeah, strikers are judged by the number of goals they score, and it's everywhere. Yep. And Sonny Yakuba, as a striker, as he is, and he was playing. And Sonny Yakuba was playing as the number 1 striker. So Fattah was playing behind him, and of course, you don't expect Fattah to score more goals than Sonny Yakuba. So when Fattah was scoring the goals and Sonny Yakuba wasn't scoring, the fans were talking, and normal. But they forgot his contribution. There is one thing about strikers. It shouldn't always be about scoring. If you're judging a striker, we always judge strikers by the number of goals. But Sonny Yakuba was doing something massive, was contributing, he was giving assists in other areas. And one of their games, Kotoko scored 2 goals. I think the Zesco game, all the assists came from him. You saw the free kick he scored away to Nkana, and then that equalizer he scored at the Baba Stadium when they drew with Al Hilal. So Sonny Yakuba, of course, comes as my third player for Asante Kotoko. The 4th on the list.
The 4th,
Safiu Fattah. Fattah plays right behind Sonny Yakuba. His runs were awesome. The only problem I had with him was if he's not on the ball, then
he's off.
But if Fattah has the ball, wow, what a player he is. His contribution was massive. His partnership with Sonny Yakuba up front was very good. The play of the two, how they were able to switch positions and all that. At times he backtracks to help the defense, but you realize that he does very well with helping in defense. That's in the first half, and then second half he's off. That's one thing I realized about him. That's how come normally Siki Akono around the 75th minute will sub him for other players to come on. He was very solid, played some good football. So, I mean, on the basis of how well these players performed, Felix Annan, my number 1 in the Kumasi Asante Kotoko team. You have Kwame Bonsu, and then you can also talk about Sonny Yakuba, and then you talk about Fattah.
All done and dusted. We've done an exhaustive analysis of their campaign. If there's anything we left, let us know. Shout to our man from Fimesia. I'll read your WhatsApp comments. He says he wants us to know that he's listening from Kumasi, from Fimesia in Kumasi. That's fine though, as we end Asante Kotoko matters. But later we are trying to put in some figures about their money issues, how much they made and how much they spent to have real tangible numbers of what an African campaign can bring to the team.
Especially when you get to the men's zone.
Fish running onto the ball to the party box, lays across everybody, wonderful touch, airs the ball into it, and the goal has finally come. Kumasi Asante got the lead by 1 goal to 0. Came onto the pitch, straight, scored the goal. And Kumasi Asante got a call, may just be on their way. The Steven Nyako scoring. Chikundo with the ball now into penalty box, turns around, touches the ball, and they've got the equalizer here. Jackson, wow, it's 1-0, and all of a sudden problems again for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Jackson worried, but ball comes in, and goalkeeper Felix Adams saved, but the ball comes back into it, and Zesco United have a second goal. The big man loves the big moments, piercing the hearts of Kumasi Asante Kotoko supporters. In Tonga, smashing the ball into the net, and Zesco United lead by 2 goals to 1.
Yeah, so that's it for that. Meanwhile, there are other issues we will be looking at here on the Joy Sports track. It's just about 70 minutes to 2 here in our studios in Kokomlemle. You know that the Black Stars will start their campaign for the African Cup of Nations this Saturday. They've already qualified. Yes, we know that. And the game against Kenya will be, for us, the first friendly, really, for Kwesi Appiah to get everything right and for us to know our smoothest level. But from the administrative point of view as well, the team has been getting ready with the naming of the Black Stars Management Committee. It's set to start preps for campaign. Like we know, 2 venues were being looked at. We discussed this last week, and all the cash issues and where we are going to camp, where Ghana will be sleeping. After we know the city will be in, that's the Black Stars will be in, on the 12th of April, which is when the draw will be done in Egypt. But we spoke to Eko Asma about a simple issue. A couple of people have felt that, look, in our previous tournaments during this period of normalization, we have not needed a management committee. Benedict, before we hear from Eko Asma, could you expand on that?
Well, so the last Africa Cup of Nations was in Gabon.
Yep.
There we had a functioning football association, and all the teams, Black Stars, Black Starlights, Black Meteors, and all the teams had a management committee. And after the football association was disbanded, after the announced expose, we all saw that in some of the qualifiers the team played, it was just Alex Asante, who is now acting general secretary of the GFA, who was then the international relations officer of the FA, doing everything, as well as the chief accountant of the sports ministry. So the chief accountant was acting as the leader of delegation. Unlike previously, we'll have a management committee chairman, and the last one was Wilfred Osei-Palmer, who will lead the team. It was the chief accountant, and then Alex Asante and Coach Kwesi Appiah, of course, since he is head of the since he is head of the team, the technical team, he was there. So that was what we had in the game against Kenya, in the game against Ethiopia as well, because those were the games we played after when normalization committee came in. And of course, I asked the question how relevant it is to have a management committee.
But before we hear from Eko Asma, I mean, wouldn't you say that that's an unfair question to the Black Stars Management Committee, considering that we went for under-17 World Cup, we went for another World Cup as well. Did we have management committees on this?
No, we didn't have management committees.
Okay, so just Alex Asante.
Yeah, no, we had people. So with specific reference to the tournament we played in Uruguay, Coach Itia Kenten.
Okay.
Yeah, Coach Itia Kenten was there with the team,
sort of a head of delegation.
We also had a member from the sports ministry, which has always been the case. Even if there are management committee members, you always will have someone from the sports ministry following the team. So, but in this case, since we did it with probably maybe we are looking at the magnitude of the tournament,
yes,
and how big Black Stars is, and how big and how serious we are taking this tournament, because I mean we all see this as a perfect opportunity for Ghana to end long wait for an African title. So probably maybe that's why. So
that's the background. When you listen to this interview, you keep this information in mind, at the back of your mind, as Benedict spoke to Eko Asma on the suitability of having a Black Stars Management Committee. Don't forget, it's helmed by Dr. KK Sapon. There's also Mr. Sensu Ochre, the Chief of Staff.
Perio Kujeto, is the Deputy Sports Minister. There is the Deputy Finance Minister as well,
and Ibrahim Sande.
And Ibrahim Sande,
former
footballer,
African Footballer of the Year as well.
Definitely. It's just a semblance of the norm, because over the years we've always had management teams for all national teams to manage the team, basically. So yes, we do need a management team. As to the form and the composition, that's also a different thing. But it's a reflection of the times we're in. It's not a normal time.
But to manage the team, what exactly do they do?
This time, because, and I suspect I have to go back to the normalization committee.
And even before you go ahead, I don't want us to limit what they do to this time. What is the work of the management committee of the Black Stars?
Well, there are so many issues regarding, at least 3 months to a major competition. What are going to be the preparations? The coach will be consulted. What's the training regimen for the team and all that. And they will be liaising between the coach and government, because the national teams belong to the states. So whatever resources that the team would need, it will be up to the management team to make sure that the team is fully prepared. Whatever the resources that the team would need, it will be up to the management team to make sure that the team gets. Because it's not the coach's job to be chasing after resources.
But you don't think the general secretary of the federation, probably with one other person, can do that job?
The general secretary runs the general administration of the FA, not necessarily the national team. So if you ask the general secretary to do the mundane activities of the FA...
No, I mentioned with one other person.
Oh, I don't think it's the general secretary's job. I know that the current general secretary has expertise in international relations, and he is saddled with, getting the team, various national teams, various clubs to release our national team players that get called up here. And he's got several years of expertise, so I respect that, and I hope that he stays there for a while, for a long while, so that we'll benefit from it.
So in a situation where previously we had a general secretary and then Alex Asante as a protocol or international relations officer of the GFA, you don't think that even from that time it would have been prudent to just have Alex Asante and one other person play the role of the management committee?
Well, Alex Asante now is acting as the general secretary.
Things have changed.
Yes. So he's wearing two hats. Okay. I don't know if it's reflecting in his pay.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but
so for you, we need a Black Stars management.
Oh, definitely. I think it boils down to the composition, and this current composition, I think is a reflection of the president Nana Ado's personal ambition. Okay. Because in my estimation, he wants to have the bragging rights that since 1982, no other president has been able to secure for Ghana the AFCON, and he wants to make sure. And he said that in the public domain. He said he's #1 football fan, and that he said it several times that he wants to win the AFCON. Yeah. Remember, let's give it a little background. He invited Samuel Jan and Dede, the captain and the deputy respectively, to the seat of power, Jubilee House. Following his trip to Ethiopia when they were playing a match, he went there. Yeah. So he has demonstrated beyond his speech that he really wants to win it. So, and then remember, now let's go to the composition. If you remember the communique following the tsunami that's happened to Ghana football since last year, it's between Ghana and FIFA. The communique was that government of Ghana in collaboration with FIFA. So now it's not FIFA running its mandate through the FA. Now basically it's the government of Ghana and FIFA. So if you check, and if you think about
if you should limit it to the Black Stars is for government.
Yes, it's the national team. Yeah. But in the past, we've not had such representation on this management committee.
It was from the GFA.
It was basically just from the GFA. But now it's the government of Ghana and FIFA. Okay. So you see, that's why you see the hand of the government deeply reflected in the composition. Even the normalization committee is from the state. It's from the government of Ghana. This is not FIFA's input. These people were now elected into office. So to wonder now how come there seems to be so much government representation, it's a mystery to me, because the normalization committee itself is also government representation. It was chosen by the government, even though it was interviewed by
the number
FIFA.
5 is okay.
Number 5
is too many.
No, I think it's okay. You see, if you check Dr. Keke Sapon, represented GMPC.
Yeah, Perry Okuja too.
Yeah, Perry's was a mystery to me, but I think it's just to reflect representation from the sports ministry. Then
we have a sense of deputy chief of staff.
Before I get there, deputy finance minister.
Yeah.
Abna, sorry, to represent the money issue. You know, if the ministry does, the sports ministry must have a very good relationship, flexible relationship and influential relationship with the finance ministry, or you will not get your budget through on time. So I think that's to facilitate that. And then Ibrahim Sande, just to represent the player block. That is a little mystery, you know.
But you don't think that with Ibrahim Sande, we need a very modern player? One that's
what I'm saying. Okay. It's a mystery to me, but it's still political. I mean, just remember that it's very political. There's nothing wrong with him being there, but if you want to find out why, it's political. And then Asenso Boache. So if you check the heavy representation, it's not based on football, purely football management issue. It's just purely political. With Ibrahim Sande, it's also a reflection of how the young football administrators have not been represented since this thing hit the GFA since last year. Because with the normalization committee, you know, I was hoping that at the time it was being formed, there would be representation from the Professional Footballers Association of Ghana. But if you check their representations there, they are very young, and this normalization committee did not take into account the necessity of bringing in a football player there. I heard that there were considerations for a member of the PFAG, but he was too young, so they didn't pick him. So maybe that explains why Ibrahim Sande is there. But really, we should have had a younger player. Maybe somebody like Sami Osei-Kufo, who's just been added to the normalization committee. Instead of that, should rather have been on there. But there would have been questions too that, you know, in the past, going to AFCONs, his presence in certain squads, you know, gave rise to all kinds of mutiny and all that.
So you don't have a problem with the Black Stars main committee? You don't have a problem with the composition?
Not because of the fact that I know that the government of Ghana has a great hand and FIFA will not object to it. I was expecting it. Definitely, I'm not surprised at it at all. The most important thing though is why such heavy government representation? Because Nanado wants to have the bragging rights to win it. Then comes the question, well, can the Black Stars win it? So that it should be, the heavy representation and interest from government should be matched by proper structures and proper selection. If we do politics with the player selection, that's where it can go wrong. If there are no politics in the player selection, if the government stays clear of the player selection and Kwesi Appiah has allowed his free hand to bring us the very best, then it's possible. Because Kwesi Appiah, without any machinations from behind the scenes, we remember he held then campaigning for World Cup Germany to a 2-2 draw. Last year, on a friendly with Japan, went to Japan and beat Japan. We know they did well at the World Cup. Subsequently, the most impressive to me was the 2-2 draw against Iceland in Iceland. That was impressive. You know, for him to have gotten that result told me that before then I really didn't think that he had earned his stripes, but that 2-2 draw with Iceland in Iceland convinced me that he was good now. If we stop the politics with them, as long as we leave Kwesi Appiah to do his selection, and he also doesn't do politics with the selection, then it's attainable in Egypt. After all, that's where Ghana won its under 2009 World Conquest. That's where Ghana recorded it. And in the northern part, Ghana has always done very well. So it's doable. Let's leave the politics out of the player selection and let Kwesi Appiah be very patriotic and use the very best, and it will happen.
In 2006, it was a disaster.
In 2006, Kwesi Appiah wasn't in charge.
No, but we are talking about Black Stars.
Black Stars, I mean at the World Cup?
No, at the Africa Cup of Nations.
Oh yeah, but we've learned our lessons. By now, at age 62, if we can't learn our lessons, then when else? This is the right time. People are alarmed because of the heavy government representation on the management team. People don't accept it, but I understand it because of the joint communique between the government of Ghana and FIFA in collaboration. So FIFA will allow it, and I don't see that it will result in any negative development unless they try to influence the player selection. That's where we will have problems. Otherwise, this is great because the finance ministry is represented as to all arrangements. The pre-tournament, I expect that the team should play in a pre-championship tournament. just simulate the conditions that existed before Ghana won the last AFCON. They played in the SCSA tournament, which they won, even though the president at the time, Hilal Iman, on political grounds had decided that Ghana would not partake in the championship in Libya. By the time John Rawlings took over, President John Rawlings took over and gave the green light to go ahead, the team had been in a tournament form. So in order to replicate the same thing, Ghana has to play in at least a 4-nation tournament, not with the likes of Mauritania.
So we need a good preparation.
We need, yes, and it should reflect, we should simulate the championship. You know, this time the championship, the task has become more arduous because Kwesi Appiah signed up for a 16-nation tournament. And this is a 24-nation tournament. And if I were Kwesi Appiah, I would be negotiating for my contract right now, you know, and should have representation. You know, if I were Kwesi Appiah, I would be negotiating by now because I signed up for a 16-nation tournament, and the conditions were that I should win it upon pain of being fired. Now it's 24, so the conditions are different. So I don't have to win, though that's the desired result. You know, I would be negotiating by now if I were him, but I don't know about him. He should have some representation. Maybe if he needs consultants, he should come see me. Should negotiate because really, I was being paid to go and do this and win a 16 nation. Now it's 24 nation. So we should ask for better remunerations and better conditions of service and the wording of the contract. So that, you know, if he doesn't win, it shouldn't necessarily result in him being fired. And then the competition was for January at the time. Now.
Right, Ekoasma speaking there to Benedict Usudankwa. Just bringing an end to the Joy Sports Track. Many thanks for listening. A couple of comments coming in. Francis Adu from Pone says, "Hi Gary, kudos to my darling team Kotoko. Regardless of what happened, they did well. They should manage the players very well for the future. I can see the future is bright for we, the Porcupines." So, on that note, we'll call it a day. We'll be back with more programming in our subsequent bulletins. The next spot on radio will be at Newsnight, where we'll give you an update on what's going on. And next week, God willing, I will be back. I'm Gary L. Smith, and that's the sport for now.